Hello, everyone. I'm going to wait a few minutes and allow some people to come on here. We're going to talk a little bit about fear and mindset surrounding, like when you set a goal for yourself, like that you want to adhere to a diet or a workout plan, especially with those of us who are now setting 2019 New Year's resolutions, which is another topic entirely, but I know that a lot of people are focused on this right now. And there is a certain level of discipline and a certain level of strictness that you need to have with yourself when you're trying to reach those goals. But I'm going to talk today about some mindset shifting. Hey, Jenna, what's up? I'm going to talk today about some mindset shifting surrounding kind of the strictness that you bring to this with yourself, the strictness with yourself in terms of following a diet, following a workout plan, and how there is actually a flaw of mindset for most of us that is not doing us any services. And I suffered with this for many years. And I'm realizing that I have the awareness to look back and say, wow, this is something that affected my mindset at the time. But I'm going to talk today about having a severe, intense fear around cheating on your diet, right? Because we've all been told that consistency is key, dedication is key. Keeping up with your diet, keeping up with your plan is the most important thing. And yes, that's true. Consistency is key, but there is a certain level of, there's something problematic with the fact that fear is so intense for many of us, and it goes far beyond food, and it goes more into your relationship with yourself. So Laura's here, Allison's here. Hey guys. So I'm going to get into it because I am trying to make these a little bit shorter, and I want, people can watch the replay and stuff like that. But I want to start this off by saying that this morning I was really tired. Hey, Trevor. This morning I was really tired. I had an awesome workout, but I could feel during the workout, because I lift weights and I go intense, I could feel this morning, first of all, I woke up starving because I've had an extremely busy work week, especially between Christmas and New Year's. And now, I have a lot of new clients. I have a lot of people that I'm trying to onboard. There's a lot of stuff happening in my life right now. So I'm just super busy. And I could feel this morning during my workout, I had a great workout, but I was also like really low on carbs, really low on energy, because I've gotten back into, my healthy eating plan after a couple weeks of like endless cookies, which we all have been through. And that is an adjustment that your body needs to make a little more gradually, at least for me, because if I go right back to an intense, I think I have a piece of oatmeal or something on my lip. If I go back to an intense diet right away, my body's like, what are you doing? So it's, you ease in. But something that I wanted to talk about today was something that I was going to talk about was, I was going to post and be like, treat yourself, this is awesome, blah, 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 blah. But then I thought, no, I can't do that. Because what I did is I came home, I was really tired, I was low on carbs, I had an awesome workout, and I was like, I'm going to make myself a fat stack of pancakes. And I did just that. I made myself a fat stack of pancakes. I'm not talking gluten-free, I'm not talking protein pancakes, I'm talking nice pancakes, classic pancakes with integrity. Yes, I was eating a lot of food last week, but I had an amazing week of workouts and I was back on track. And I could feel that my body needed it because I have that biological self-awareness, right? And I was going to post about that, but then I was like, no, I can't do that because people are going to comment on it and be like, she's a health coach, she's a fitness coach. How can she help me lose weight if she's over here eating pancakes all the time, or she's over here preaching whatever? Because there's a fine line between preaching self-love and loving your body the way it is and still pushing yourself further, right? There are certain coaches out there who have gaps in their scientific knowledge that they will then fill with, oh, well, you don't have to keep losing weight, or you don't have to do that because you're beautiful anyway. And that is sometimes used as a tactic to fill the gaps in your knowledge. And I'm not here to do that, right? I have the knowledge to help people lose weight and do it properly. And I'm not all about treating yourself 100% of the time, right? There's a balance. But I think I realized when I was judging myself in that way, oh, I can't talk about the fact that I made a fat stack of pancakes this morning because people are going to be like, oh my God, the holidays just happened. Everyone's supposed to be getting back on track. Why isn't she being stricter? How can she be a health coach and help me lose weight if she's not being stricter? And I was like, wait a minute, this is a mindset shift that I've already had. This is a mindset shift that I know a lot about already. And this is something that I need to share with other people, okay? So the reason that I am able today to have absolutely no guilt about, this was not on my diet plan for today, this was not on my meal plan for today, but I have absolutely no guilt about making pancakes because, one, I have a really good biological self-awareness. So I was really aware of the fact that I would be in full-on binge mode later if I didn't feed myself now, because I know when I'm approaching that point, if I've taken it too far, especially the week after Christmas is a really easy time for me because I know myself to go balls to the wall, get back into the gym, and then burn out too quick. So I knew I needed it because I needed the carbs and I had an awesome workout and I needed to feed my muscles, right? And I love pancakes. But number two, right, I have this self-awareness and I have this trust in myself because of this self-awareness, right? The only reason, if all of us, we know that having one cheat meal, which I don't like the word of, but I put it in this title for a reason, if we have one meal that isn't necessarily considered healthy, we know for a fact, we know scientifically that doing that one time is not going to make you gain weight. It's not going to change anything. You can't even gain a pound of fat until you've had 3,500 calories in a surplus. And I don't think I ate that many pancakes. I feel like I might be able to if you challenge me to it, but I definitely didn't. So really what I'm getting at here is that in the last couple of years, I've built this intense sense of self-awareness. And because I trust myself, because I trust that I will get back on track the rest of the time, this isn't scary at all. The only reason that any of us are ever afraid to engage in this kind of thing that we consider bad or cheating is fundamentally because we don't have the trust in ourselves that we're going to get back on track. Because otherwise, why is it so scary? Doing it one time doesn't affect anything, right? So the root of this feeling, the root of this intense fear of missing a workout, missing the gym, or having like one meal that is not necessarily healthy, and I used to get into this rut, right? The root of this is not that you're a piece of shit. It's not that you're not dedicated. It's not that you're just too hungry and your body won't respond. It's not any of that. It's literally in your head. Okay. So the root of this problem is that we do not trust ourselves. We have very little trust in ourselves. So if you feel like, oh, I'm going to eat pancakes today, it wouldn't be scary if you were eating pancakes today and getting right back on track tomorrow. And you might say, yes, I do trust myself because I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow. But at the end of the day, maybe it's really deep. Maybe it is not voluntary. Maybe you're not even realizing that it's in there. But there is a fundamental fear of not getting back on track because you don't have the trust in yourself that if you have one bite of that thing that's a treat, that you will get back on track. And you don't have the trust in yourself to not make it a habit, right? The only reason it should be ever scary to engage in that kind of habit or eat something that you're not supposed to eat all the time is if you don't have trust that it's just that one time, okay? And now I'm gonna ask you guys a question that is probably gonna like open your minds up to this a little bit more, okay? But if we're talking about trust, and I think when you think about trusting yourself and trusting others, we think of these things as separate and we don't seem to relate them on a level that allows us to see clarity. But I'm gonna do this for you right now. So if you're looking at other people in your life, what types of people do you not trust? You trust people that you do not know. You trust people that you don't know. You trust people that haven't gained your trust because maybe you just met them, maybe they're strangers. You trust only a select few people in your life and you cultivate that trust very carefully, right? And if someone breaks it, it's really hard to get it back, right? Trust is something that we don't just hand out. Trust is something that we don't hand out freely because we know that there can be repercussions from that, okay? So when you are looking to trust other people, if you don't trust other people, it is really literally because you do not know them. You don't know them. You do not know how they function. You do not know how they tick. You don't know what their tendencies are. You don't know what their impulsive actions are. You don't know how their mind works, right? So if you connect these two things, why don't you trust yourself? You don't trust yourself because you don't know yourself. You don't know yourself. You have a very little self-awareness. And this is going to relate, okay? So most of us, we live outside of ourselves. And what I mean by that is we respond to events, to circumstances, to things that happen in our lives. But those responses are automatic, okay? Those responses are automatic. And rather than taking a look at our response and saying, this says something about me in a way that can build my awareness about myself. We continue to look at the situation. We continue to look at the other person. We continue to look at everything else that's going on, right? If a shitty situation happens, you are 50-50. You control 50% of the outcome, right? You have a bad situation, okay? That situation doesn't have to have a bad outcome. It doesn't have to turn into an awful event. But if you respond in a way that's like catastrophic, it will be, right? So part of this is recognizing that you have a responsibility and a control over the way that you respond to events in your life, right? But if you don't know and you don't understand to look at yourself objectively about how your responses are, you don't know what your tendencies are. You don't know how you normally respond because we all have ingrained things and they're from childhood and they're psychological and they're deep. We have certain tendencies in our responses, okay? So for example, just the way that I have grown up, just the way that my mind works, one of my responses has always been to catastrophize things, which is to make things bigger than they are, to freak out, to get anxious about it. And when I realized that I was in control of that, I got to know myself better because I said, Megan, this is a tendency that I have. And if I know that I'm going to do that naturally, I can prepare for it. I can have self-awareness and prevent it from happening. Okay. Another example is some people are, they're victimized, right? They're always victimized. They take things really personally. And the root of this is in a lack of self-confidence, right? Insecurity in oneself. It doesn't matter what somebody else says to you. If they say something that could be possibly misconstrued as an insult to you, if you are insecure in yourself, you are waiting for someone to insult you because you hear what you think you're going to hear. So your response to that, it really determines the outcome, right? The outcome could be this person insulted you and this was an awful situation and blah, 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 but maybe that wasn't even their intention, right? And there are people walking around every day who catastrophize things. They turn themselves into victims. And if you don't know that about yourself, that's an example of you having very little self-awareness, right? And you're walking around in a body all day, looking outside of you, trying to get to know other people, but you literally don't know yourself. You have no idea who you are. You have no idea how you tick, and you allow that ticking to happen automatically without objectively looking at it and saying, maybe if I know this is the way that I tend to respond, I can prepare for it next time in a way that's more productive for me, right? So if I know that I'm going to catastrophize things, I'm going to get anxious about things, right? If I know that about myself, I have built more self-awareness, right? And another thing that I know about myself is that I will get back on track. I know that I will get back on track because I know how to control my responses to things in a way that doesn't put me in a funk and stop me in my tracks. So if I choose to eat pancakes today, it's not scary at all. These are all related. It's not scary at all because I trust myself. And fundamentally, the reason I trust myself is because I know myself. It's because I know myself, and it took me years to do that, right? And many of us, we have to suffer through things in our lives to get to that point because we won't look at ourselves objectively. Honestly, we won't until we are forced to for some reason or another. But you can do that deliberately. You can start to look at the way you respond to things, right? If someone says something to you and you have an impulse to respond a certain way, take a look at it and be like, is this logical? And 9 times out of 10, in our own way, it might not be logical, okay? So that's the whole idea, right? So now that we're heading into 2019, right? Well, we're not heading into, it started. Now that it's 2019, most of you guys have diet goals. Most of you guys have workout goals. Almost everyone is trying to say, this year is all about discipline. This year, I'm going to stay on my diet. I'm going to stay on my workout plan. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that, right? And that's great. There's a strength of mindset behind that is necessary to adhere to those kinds of routines, right? But the problem is when you adhere to these kinds of routines, and the strength of mindset behind it is all about discipline, and it's all about that, and it's all about like strength of your routine and adhering to it, right? There is inevitably going to be an element of fear behind falling off your routine, right? And the only reason that there is ever an element of fear behind falling off your routine is if you do not trust yourself. You don't trust yourself to get back on the bandwagon if you take a break. And why don't you trust yourself? We're going in a circle here. You don't trust yourself because you don't know yourself. You have very little self-awareness. If you're making a new friend, it takes a while to cultivate their trust, right? You have to know somebody before you trust them. But we walk around all day like sending out applications for our trust, and we don't even trust ourselves because we don't know ourselves. So this year, for 2019, rather than focusing only on following a diet, following a workout plan, following this, following that, if you have a goal that's so large that you want it so bad that there is a source of fear behind taking a break for a day, right? If you're tired or you want pancakes or you want this or you want that, there's a balance there. Obviously, you can't do that every day. You need to go to the gym. The reason that I feel no fear today in treating myself is because I know that I'm consistent the rest of the time and that I trust myself to be consistent tomorrow, right? But if you don't have that trust in yourself, you're gonna have fear. You're gonna have fear around, especially after you see initial results, because you don't wanna lose what you gained, right? That's the key. So the issue here is that when we set New Year's resolutions, we make them all about what we're going to do. We make them all about what we're going to do. We make them all about what we're going to eat, how we're going to work out, what we're going to commit to, right? But very seldom do we say, what am I going to do? How am I going to deal with my response to things? And how am I going to make it more sustainable in the long term, right? Again, what am I going to do? How am I going to work out? What am I going to eat? All of these things are outside of you. They're things that we're living outside of ourselves, right? So if you want sustainable long-term results and you want to let go of a fear of food and you want to let go of a fear of sleeping in maybe on a day that you feel exhausted, right? And most of us don't have this issue because we need actually more motivation. But for those of us who are hard on ourselves for taking a break, right? Which is how I've always been, rather than saying this 2019 is all about what I'm going to do in terms of discipline, combine that with, I'm going to take this and at the same time, I'm going to work on getting to know myself a little bit better. I'm going to start looking at myself objectively in the way that I respond to things, in the way that I respond to circumstances, to events, to people, and I'm going to take responsibility for my role in creating the outcome. Because if you have something that you consider a negative event, take a look at how it started, right? Take a look at how it started and then take a look at how you responded. And essentially you could turn a 180. You could turn it a 180 and not even know. I've had people, like, you say, and we've all experienced this. You say something to someone, you're like, damn, like, you know, blah, 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 blah. And then the person goes, oh, so now it's my fault. And you're like, when did I say that, right? And it's not you. It's not you. It's them. They are expecting, because they're so insecure, someone to say something bad about them, right? So this is an example, like I said, of someone who's in the victimized mindset. And they aren't controlling their response because they have very little self-awareness and they don't know themselves. And for that reason, it's likely that they don't trust themselves, right? So those types of people are going to be the same types of people that are afraid to fall off a diet for one day or afraid to miss a workout for one day because they don't trust that they're going to come back. When you have little self-awareness, you don't trust yourself, right? You don't trust yourself. In the same way that when you don't know somebody well, somebody else, you don't trust them, because why would you trust a stranger, right? Why would you trust a stranger? So your question now is not what diet I'm going to follow, what workout am I going to follow? Maybe you figured that out already, right? Your question now is, how am I responding to events in my life? Is there fear surrounding things and circumstances in which I don't trust myself? And how can I get to know myself a little better, right? Am I a stranger to myself? That's the question. So I hope you guys found this eye-opening. I hope this is a good mindset principle. I know that for years I didn't know myself, and it's one of those things that you don't realize until after, but hopefully I was able to unleash this all on you guys today, so you can look at yourself and say, damn, like maybe I am a stranger to myself, and this is just a certain level of self-development that goes into that. And it's astounding to me the number of people who are older, like 50s, 60s. Like, I mean, I'm 23, and I feel like there is a certain level of age that, like, aging that comes with building self-awareness. But there are certain people who are already at a certain age that the way they respond to people and events and situations and themselves suggests to me that they still have very little self-awareness, right? So this is timeless. It's ageless. It's just a matter of looking inside and living less outside of yourself, right? And figuring out what's going on in the inside, okay? So the title to this looks unrelated, but it's not. So listen through, like, I want everyone to listen through the whole thing and make sure that you understand, especially if you came on late. But essentially for this 2019, you know, focus on getting to know yourself a little bit better, cultivating a better relationship with yourself. And if you put those together with diet and exercise, you won't fall off the bandwagon this year, and you won't have to start over in 2020, which is what a lot of us are going to do unless we fix this now. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know, comment, like, share. I would love to talk about it, and I will talk to you guys soon.